and welcome to this episode of the Estate Planning Expert Series, where I'll be interviewing experts on the topic to help financial advisors grow. Today's show is giving you an inside look at the modern attorney's experience. So if you're joining us live or you're going to watch the replay of this later, this is definitely an episode you don't want to miss. Now, specifically, I'm here with Christian Smith, an estate attorney here at Trust and Will. Christian, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. I am so excited to ask you these questions and get the attorney's perspective. A lot of times, we hear from advisors, we hear from technology providers, but really bringing you into this conversation, I'm super excited about it. So let's start with technology. On that point, we know and we've seen technology is playing an increasing role in estate planning. So how is technology helping attorneys like yourself work more efficiently and collaborate with financial advisors more seamlessly?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's definitely streamlined my practice because of the involvement of the advisor as well as the client. Technology is making it easier for me to basically ensure that my clients' wishes are accomplished. I don't have to worry about this entire cycle where I'm kicking all of the documentation to my paralegal, confirming everything multiple times. The advisor who already knows the client potentially for decades is able to speak with me directly and schedule conference calls through the platform so that we can make sure that those wishes are encapsulated and it's all very digestible for the client. It's not confusing legalese. So it's been great for my practice and even more so for the client.
Absolutely. Now let's talk a little bit more about the client and the client experience. It's a major factor in successful estate planning. So from an attorney's perspective, what separates a smooth and efficient estate planning process from one that's disjointed and frustrating even?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that communication between the advisor and the attorney is what is key. It's the ideal setup when you have a client who can have both sides of the coin covered. The estate plan and the financial plan fit in so perfectly. They're basically two sides of the same coin. And for the advisor and the attorney to be able to communicate on one platform, to have that advisory portal where the attorney and the advisor can see the entire plan, can spot any sort of shortcomings from a legal standpoint or from a financial standpoint. It just makes the most sense. It's even better for the client is they don't have to leave the comfort of their home. I can't tell you how many times I've had to do house calls and drive to clients' houses to get their wishes on paper. And it takes, 4 to 6 weeks for me to finalize everything. That's not the case with Trust and Will. This can be done with the advisor or the attorney from the comfort of the client's home. So it's done a great job for the client's experience.
Yeah, I've talked to some advisors about how this is changing the client experience for them on this topic. And, a few of them have said, before they just weren't getting it done. Like clients just weren't getting it done, but now they're actually getting it done. And so it's interesting that, you as an attorney have even had to make house calls. I think a lot of people think it's tedious. It's going to take a long time and they just put it off and put it off and put it off. So thank you for sharing that. And you mentioned Trust and Will. Let's talk a little bit about Trust and Will. I'm a big advocate, obviously, for Trust and Will as chief evangelist. And I always say, Trust and Will is truly at the forefront of modernizing estate planning. How have digital estate planning platforms in general changed the way attorneys like yourself approach estate planning? And what impact has it had on your practice? I know you mentioned a few things earlier, but anything else you want to add there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think I've gone into detail on the client-centric nature of Trust and Will's platform. It's obviously ideal for the client, but I will say it makes just as much sense for the advisor and the attorney as well, because when the advisor, joins the team and they're using the platform to service their clients, what they're doing is they're keeping that wealth within their advisory firm. I can't tell you how many times I've had clients who they have amassed wealth throughout their lifetime, and I've set up the trust for their beneficiaries. Their beneficiaries don't have that same relationship with that advisor. So when the advisor maintains that relationship and is actually an integral part of the creation of these estate planning documents alongside the estate attorney like myself, they're actually preserving assets under management. They're maintaining those clients, they're keeping them in house because they're delivering more value to their client. They're not having to refer out, honestly, an integral part of the financial planning process. Even though I'm an estate attorney, I am part of the financial planning process in what I do. And when an advisor can keep that in house instead of basically building credibility for another firm that may actually be referring your client to another financial advisor,
Yep.
you got to be careful with that, right? When you're keeping all of that in house, it makes sense for the client and it makes sense for the advisory firm. That's maintaining those clients for generations instead of risking the beneficiaries going to another advisory firm at that point and relocating their assets.
Yeah, this is more common than we think as well. I mean, especially if you don't really have as deep of a relationship as an advisor with, said attorney down the street that you've decided to just start referring to. Maybe they've had a long-standing relationship with a different advisor. You just never know. So that's a really good point to bring up. And, you just made so many excellent points there and reasons why I, continue to advocate for financial advisors to bring this more in-house, but it doesn't mean you still don't work with an attorney, right? There's different ways to go about this. So when you and I talked initially to plan this interview, you mentioned something that was like a light bulb that went off for me because it's a topic I love to talk about, and that was seminar marketing. And so you mentioned that you've done some seminars on estate planning, that they're always a really good topic to go out and grow your business around. And I've worked directly with financial advisors on hosting seminars and seminar marketing around the topic. So let's talk about that here.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah, I think, it's a great growth tactic. What kind of growth opportunities do you see seminar marketing bringing, not just for attorneys, but attorneys and financial advisors on the topic of estate planning?
Yeah, so it's actually the perfect synergy, I would say. When you, like I said, it's the same coin. Financial and estate planning, they're one and the same. You have a different expert for each angle, but it's the same goal, right? So I would create the fund or use trust and will alongside my expertise to create that trust fund for the client. But it's the onus is ultimately on the client and their advisor to ensure that there's wealth to pass on in that fund to the next generation. When it comes to acquisition of clients through the seminar model, whether it's a webinar or a seminar, there is a lot more value that's delivered to the client when the attorney and the advisor are able to speak to their expertise and the client feels like they're getting a team behind their wishes, essentially. It's not as disjointed. And I've seen in my practice and the advisors that are in my network, they actually generate more clients, more leads when they work together with an estate attorney and they're delivering that holistic retirement planning in one place. So yeah, that seminar or webinar model works well when the advisor and the attorney work together. It just makes the most sense. It delivers the most value. And honestly, what you're doing is you're getting clients, you're netting them who may be interested in the estate planning side and don't know that they need to have financial planning or vice versa. So that's a really good way to capture leads, to help clients who potentially didn't know what they needed until they had that holistic planning that was at their doorstep.
Well, as you mentioned, it's an integral part of the financial planning process. And I think I agree, bringing everything under one roof, people start to realize like, oh, wow, there's some things here maybe I don't have or I've been missing that I really need. So I'm a big advocate. I love that you shared that little note with me. And I really wanted to be sure we covered it in today's interview. And Christian, this has been awesome. Thank you so, so much for sharing your insights as an attorney with us today. We really, really appreciate it. Everything you had to say was golden. And I know our audience took away some things that they're going to go think about and probably start to implement. So if you are part of the audience today and you're interested in learning more about trust and will for advisors, you can scan the QR code here at the bottom of this video or just head over to trustandwill.com/advisors. We'll see you soon. Thanks again, Christian.
Thank you.